Good day, I'm Ikslorin, and the last shoutcast was France going up against Poland in the second round of Group B of the Nation Cup 18, which is a match all the way back to 2014. But in the heat of this shoutcast, I did a wrong analysis, because as you can see right now, Poland have a lot of players committed right onto the North Gardens, right outside the end of the tunnel. And I did say in the shoutcast that this was due to the fact that they wanted to shut down any rushes through the tunnel. And while that is certainly a side effect of this setup, it is not the main purpose of it. And the reason why they do it is actually much deeper and much more clever than that. Before we can just talk about the setup and why it is good and why it actually makes quite a lot of sense, we have to talk about the map itself, have to talk about Austria. So Austria is a map that has quite a lot of open angles and long angles to hold. So we have, for example, this long angle down here where we have to, where we a lot of times will see S8 players or G36 players. Also we have this long angle down here, and the opposites of course also true. So it's a very slow map compared to a lot of others like Tuhunga, but it's a great one. I mean, this match just between France and Poland was a really good one. So in playing Team Survival, there's like three key areas you try to gain control of. There's the tunnel here, there's the wall, and most importantly, we have the central building, which is very interesting, not only due to the fact that it is, unlike most of the other map, heavily close quarters, but also because it is just right in the middle of everything. And why that is good is if we have a player right here in the central building, this player, if looking over to the gardens, can hold down this angle, which would take an S8 player, as I said, that would be standing around here and try to hold down on the tunnel. Simultaneously, any player that stands here and tries to hold down on the central building itself, the person can engage. Or even more importantly, the player down here in the south boulevard that tries to rotate between the northern promenade and the southern to just support any players in need. This player can also just be picked, and they have pretty much, you have a lot of cover actually in the central building too. And so the same is also true on the other side. So if we move all of this clutter here and put on some others, you can hold down this angle. You cannot really look into the road crossing itself, but you can get pretty close. You can make sure that you cannot rotate out of this, because then you just die. But also the S8 player or a G36 player that could sit back here and hold down this angle, being a really irritating player for the other players you have trying to hold down this the wall over here. You can also just able to just pick him off easily actually, and you are again just in a lot of cover because you have the wall over here, so you can just sit over this side of the wall, hold down this angle, and it's pretty much impossible for the players at the road crossing to see you, and they have to move all the way out here to engage. So, and then they're pretty much far out in the open, and that's just weird. So the central building is, as I tried also to explain in the shoutcast, very pivotal. And I chose that word because really this central building is a pivot, so it's pivotal. Get it? So then there's a claim I'm going to make now, that is the fact that the players spawning at the road crossing here are given the initiative on playing this map. And for that we actually have, to just get into the game. So if I'm a player now here at the road crossing, I'm really bad jumper, so this is attempt number 2. Let's go for the wall and try to see if we can jump in and see if we can get control of it. And now I'm trying to move in. So let's see how long this will take from the road crossing to. Let's just get the stamina. So if we're just going to go for the very defensive position over here, we get there much faster. We can get up here, stand behind the tree and hold down this angle easily. Also, getting down these stairs and over here, easy. Jumping across, you could probably even jump across here before you get over here, or jump through here. So you cannot really rush in through the wall when you spawn here. So what about the tunnel then? Well, let's get a timer on that. Okay, I'm now at the tunnel, and I'm greeted by all the players from the world crossing, because, well, if I spawn here, obviously getting down to the end of this one is really much faster. And then the very last one, and the very important building, as I said, the central building. How fast can you get from it here? Now I am a bad jumper, so, but still, should compensate from the other. Still, as you can already see, it's just a long route you have to take compared to starting here and just doing this. I mean, even I can do that jump, then you can do it. You can even get down to this angle before you can, pretty much at the same time that anyone would move from here all the way over here. So really, you get pretty much all the areas given to you when you start over here at the world crossing. You have the tunnel, you have this angle, you can move down all the way to the end, actually, even if you want to. You get the central building, which is, as I said, really pivotal, as you can see here, hold down the angle, and you're really just, when looking at this, you're only being able to be seen from one player at a time. So you're not even exposed at all. So like here, you can only be seen by the SI player in there. Now you can be a bit more aggressive, do this, but still, you have a lot of control when you have this central building. And we're going to go back to this central building all the time throughout this whole video. So now that we agree that the team starting here at the road crossing has the initiative because they get control of the central building, they get control of any of the angles that you're trying to hold, they also have, as I said, the initiative. They choose the next step. They are the ones who choose, should we go through the tunnel, should we go through the wall. And the other team really just has to stay back, hold down the angles and wait for the other team to do any kind of, to take the initiative and try and see if they can take the initiative from them and get a kill and see if they can make something from there. So with this, it's very understandable why Poland chose to go for the setup that they did. So if we remove all of this, so the setup Poland did was they had one player right here holding down this angle, maybe a little bit further back, but nevertheless, they had one player holding down this angle here, and one player holding down this angle, together with a player up here actually holding down this angle, and only one player actually committed directly to the wall. So with this, we actually have two players right on the central building, and this player down here, right at the northern promenade, can easily just move all the way up and rotate for a third player onto it too. So what they really are trying to do is just deny the ability to take use of this control you have when you have the central building and the initiative you get from it. And also, by being a 2 versus 1, or maybe even 3 versus 1, you are maybe even able to take the initiative from the other team by taking control of the central building, where you pretty much split the other team in two, because they only have then 2 players here, and you all of a sudden hold this angle here and this angle. They are not able to rotate from either side, and from there they have to try and make sure that they are not going to be killed from 2 angles, and then you can move in from both sides at once, and you are really happy because you won the round. So very interestingly, actually, they did also use something very similar to this one on the other side when they spawned at the world crossing, where they had one player holding down this angle through the tunnel. They had 2 players here too, holding down and standing in and going into the central building. Let's actually just make that work properly. There we go, moving into the central building. Where they also have, and they have fourth one over here holding this angle, and a supporting player who can rotate, mainly just standing over here and holding down the tunnel too. So since this player holds down this whole angle down here, they shouldn't really be worried about any players from the wall, because if you try to go down through this, I guess you could call it a connector, there's actually no name on it right now, in the map at least, so I'll just call it connector for now. So if you move down here, you're just going to be picked, especially if you have an S8 over here, though it was only a G36 I think, but still, a G36 also does the job. And the player over here cannot really throw a nade over neither, and they might be able to jump over, but then they're really exposed because they cannot get back, because the only way out is through this or jumping back over, and now it just takes a lot of time. And you have players up here, you have the supporting player actually just to kill it off. So it makes a lot of sense actually to also, it makes some sense to do it also this way when on the other side. But then the question really is, why, if this was so amazing, why is it actually that Poland lost against France? So for that, let's take a look at a good example here. So in this round, we have Poland spawning at the road crossing. So we see here two players holding down the tunnel, as I said, and two players trying to take control of the central building. Make note of the word I'm using here, trying. They don't actually move into the central building itself, they actually don't take control of it. And effectively they've actually given up control of the central building to France. And the last player they have has to take care of the wall. And as you can see, he also stays quite far back, though for a really long time, pretty much staying together with all the other players. And in this time, France should have been able to go and take in a position at what I just called the connector earlier, and just hold down the angle on this position that he then tries to take afterwards. Effectively, Poland have also given up control of the wall here on this one. And due to this is where they then get flanked from the wall. And then they try to regain control of the wall itself, but by doing that they take attention away from the tunnel itself and the central room. And with those weakened, it's a one-on-one for France, and France just moves in from all sides and wins the round. Let's look also at another example with Poland losing when they spawned the Eastern Gardens. This side where it made a lot of sense really to make this setup here. So they start off with this nice setup, and then all of a sudden 3 players die for only 1 French player. These 3 dead Polish players were the 3 that were exposed to the wall itself. Ari was trying to hold down the long angle on the wall from the North Promenade, as I was showing earlier. But then Ari was blown up by a nade thrown from Holters at the wall, and this opened it up for him from the wall to pick off the 2 others at the North Gardens. And the only ones who actually survived were the only ones who were far back. Seshji, who was actually in cover of Hemp due to being behind the wall itself, and the other one, Chris, was also just alive because he was moving further back, holding the central building right around the corner where he could retreat. So on this side, they mainly actually only have faltered just due to the fact that they haven't been able to win the engagements. France has not only on this side or the other side, but throughout the whole match, they have almost always won the 1 versus 1, with only very few exceptions. So the question then is, what would Poland need to do to fix these problems they have with their setup? So from the road crossing itself, really I really like the idea of the setup. They have to have the player that should hold down the wall move over there immediately, not wait for later, maybe use an SA8 or at least a G36, and then the 2 players that they have committed for the central building should just move in. That's the most important thing on that one. Just move in and take control of it. Take the initiative that you are given from the start of the round. So from the other side though, from the East Gardens, it wasn't the setup, it was mainly just the fact that they couldn't hold the flank from the wall away. So having more nades onto the wall, or maybe have Aoi use an SR8 to hold down the angle, or at least a G36 and not an LR300 as he did, then he should have been able to be much stronger against Hemp. So, and then there's also another idea I have, which might sound rather controversial, but hear me out. So for the other idea I have, for what Poland could have done when starting here at the East Gardens, we have to look at the this thing. This is the main problem that they had. The thing is that we have Hemp over here, trying to holding down this angle and being able to pretty much pick off anyone from that he would want. So what I think they could actually have done, and I know this sounds controversial, but hear me out. Take this and do this. Yes, that's right, that's a smoke grenade. So this one was not really well thrown, but still, the point is, if we actually throw it correctly, let's do it. Yeah, so that should be enough smoke. So the thing is though, that Hemp now cannot look at all over here. It's impossible for you as a player on the wall to look in onto the northern promenade and to actually try to get a pick. And they don't really need much more than 2 smokes if you throw them correctly, unlike what I did, because you shouldn't try to block them out. You should just throw a smoke over there and then just stay back, as Setchki also did, and just hold down the angle on anyone jumping over the wall. And 2 smokes should be more than enough time for players right here trying to take control of the central building. And when you have gained control of the central building, you rush through the tunnel and you gain another round and you're really happy. But well, those are just my thoughts. Really, I like the setup on both sides, but they really just had some trouble committing to their setup and also getting the picks at the end of the day. So thank you for watching. See ya. By the way, can we just appreciate this nade by Holtes? Yeah.